So this question asks us to evaluate some problems with factorials. So the first one we have here is 5 factorial. Now, what does 5 factorial mean? You start at 5, then you go down by 1, multiply. 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And what does that give me? 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 gives me 120. We certainly can do that on the graphing calculator. If we pull that up, we look for 5 factorial stat. Math maybe? There we go, math probability. Math probability, and there's factorial is number 4. So the factorial button is under the math menu, PROB probability, 5 factorial to give me 120. Okay, our next question is 12 factorial over 8 factorial. Oftentimes we are dividing these factorials, so that's good for us to see. So if I'm doing this, I want to ask myself, what is 12 factorial? Well, it's 12 times 11 times 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 divided by 8 factorial, which is 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So you'll notice large portions divide out, so that the result is 12 times 11 times 10 times 9. What does that give me? 12 times 11 times 10 times 9, I get 11880. Let's check that on the graphing calculator. So 12 factorial divided by 8 factorial. I like the numerator in parentheses, 12 factorial. Remember, we found it under the math menu, probability menu, number 4. So 12 factorial upstairs, divided by 8 factorial downstairs, 8, math menu, probability menu, number 4. And what do we get? We hope it's 11880, and it is. Great. Next question. We want to find 6 factorial divided by 6 minus 2 factorial, 2 factorial. This is the kind of problem we do in probability, looking at combinations. So 6 factorial, 6 minus 2 is 4 factorial, 2 factorial is 2 factorial. What is 6 factorial? What does that mean? 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. 4 factorial means 4, 3, 2, 1, and 2 factorial means 2 times 1. So again, many things divide out. 4, 3, 2, 1 divides out 4, 3, 2, 1. 6 times 5 is 30. 30 divided by 2 gives me a total of 15. So we can check this on the grapher. So upstairs in parentheses, 6 factorial, math, PROB, factorial, number 4. 6 factorial divided by, careful with the order of operations. I'm going to want to have 6 minus 2 factorial here, 6 minus 2, math, PRB, number 4. 6 minus 2 factorial times 2 factorial, times not necessary, but for emphasis, I'll put it in there. And what do we get? Hopefully we'll get 15, and we do. What is our next question? We want n plus 2 factorial divided by n factorial. So the calculator is not going to help us on this. We need to think about what that means. N plus 2 factorial divided by n factorial. So Let's just remind ourselves, remember 7 factorial means 7 times 6 times 5 times 4, it goes all the way down, 3, 2, 1. So n plus 2 factorial, I've got to drop it by 1 each time. N plus 2, n plus 1, n minus 1, n minus 2, dot, 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 3, 2, 1. That's where it goes. How about n factorial? N minus 1, n minus 2, n minus 3, dot, 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 3, 2, 1. And what you need to notice is most cancels, right? Everything from n down to 0 is here at n factorial. Everywhere from n down to, down to 1 is there. So when those divide out, all I am left with is n plus 2 times n plus 1 on top. N plus 2 times n plus 1 on top divided by 1. If you wanted to, you could multiply that and say n squared 2n plus 1, n plus 3, n plus 2. Probably not necessary. N plus 2 times n plus 1 would work as well. All right, what is our next question? Our next question is 0 factorial. Well, this is one you have to know, don't have a real good reason why. 0 factorial equals 1. It, in essence, divides it. Factorial applied to 0 is 1, and factorial applied to n plus 1 is n plus 1 times factorial applied to n. This, in essence, is how the factorial function is defined. So factorial 3 is 3 times factorial 2. But you've got to start it somewhere, right? You need a seed. And the fact that 0 factorial is 1 defines the rest of this. So just remember that. 0 factorial equals 1 is one for us to know. And we'll certainly convince ourselves of that on the calculator. 0, math, probability, number 4. 0 factorial, what does the calculator tell us it is? 0 factorial is 1. Okay, and let's see, I believe we have one more question to do. You want the sum as k goes from 1 to 6 of k factorial. Okay, so what does that mean? Sum as k goes from 1 to 6 of k factorial. Well, it means 1 factorial plus 2 factorial plus 3 factorial plus 4 factorial plus 5 factorial plus 6 factorial. 1 factorial is 1 because it's 1 times 0 factorial. 2 factorial is 2. 3 factorial is 6. 4 factorial is 24. 5 factorial is 5 times 24. Again, using our recursive kind of idea is 120. Plus 6 factorial is 720. So we could add all those together. 1 plus 2 plus 6 plus 24 plus 120 plus 720, and we get 873. Of course, let's check that on the calculator. So we'll jump to the calculator and we go to math 0, and that's our sum. So when k goes from 1 to 6 of k factorial, so alpha k, it's in alpha mode already. K goes from 1 to 6, arrow, not enter. 6, arrow, not enter. K factorial, so alpha k. K is there. Factorial, remember where we find the factorial, math. PRB, down to number 4, and we get this. And we can arrow it over if that bothers you. It bothers me a little bit. And hopefully we get 873, and we do.